Good afternoon, students. Today we are going to study about the chapter metals and non-metals. In this video I'll be talking about the introduction of this chapter and about the characteristics of metals and characteristics of non-metals. Okay, so first we are classifying the materials into metals and non-metals. So there is a classification in this chapter. So we are classifying the elements or materials into metals and non-metals. So before that, first we have to have an idea about the concept of the elements. So what is an element? Okay, so what is an element? A substance which cannot be broken down into two or more similar substance by chemical reaction. By applying heat, light or electricity is called an element. That means if we are breaking a substance or we are doing some chemical reaction to a substance, if that substance is breaking into its similar substance, then we call that element as that is not an element. So an element is a substance which cannot be broken down into more similar substance. So if I am taking an iron, just take an example. If I am taking an iron rod, so if I am breaking, what happens? It is breaking down to piece, but actually the thing that is remaining is always iron only. If I am breaking means whether the iron is converted to some other chemicals, no. So the substance which cannot be it cannot be broken down into similar substance by chemical reaction. Okay, that is by applying heat, light or electricity. So some common elements are given. That means hydrogen, helium, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, phosphorus. So these are the elements. So periodically we are studying about the elements. So we want to study one more thing, the classification of these elements. So we are classifying these elements as metals or non-metals in this chapter. So smallest particles of an element is called an atom. So this element which is a simpler substance, is made up of atoms. Okay, so the smallest particles of an element is called an atom. The sample of an element contains one kind of atom. So that means if I am taking iron, it is having only iron atoms. Okay, that means a sample of an element contains only one type of atoms. This gives another definition of an element, which can be written as an element is a substance which is made up of only one kind of atom. So iron means if I am taking one kind of element, it will be having only that kinds of atoms. Okay, so next we are going to study about the classification. So there are only 92 naturally occurring elements known as at present. That means it is telling about the atoms. So metals and non-metals. So on the base, why there is a classification? That means the elements are classified into metals and non-metals. Why? Because it is classified on the basis of their properties. By looking upon the characteristics or the properties of the materials or elements, we are classifying into metals and non-metals. So iron, copper, aluminum, etc. are the examples of metals, while carbon, oxygen, sulfur are the examples of non-metals. Okay, so in the periodic table, if you are looking, then we can see the different kinds of elements, that is metals and non-metals are classified or divided into two sections. So all the metals have similar properties, while all the non-metals also have similar properties. So the properties of the metals and non-metals are different. So by looking to the properties or characteristics, we are classifying into metals and non-metals. So we can just look at to the characteristics. So, and one more thing, the metals and non-metals are having different kinds or opposite characteristics. Okay, metals as well as non-metals have, that means we are daily using metals and non-metals. Then what are the properties? By what characteristics we are classifying the metals and non-metals? Then before that, we want to study some technical terms like malleable, ductile, brittle, lustrous. So malleability, ductility, brittleness, lustrous, these are the properties that we will be going to study in this chapter. Okay, so what are the characteristics of metals? The important characteristics of metals are as follows. Metals are malleable and it is also ductile in nature. They are good conductors of heat and electricity. Metals are lustrous, they are shiny in appearance. Metals are usually hard and strong and cannot be cut easily. Then metals are solid except mercury, which is a liquid. So one important thing we want to understand is all the metals are solids, but except mercury, every metals are solid. Mercury is a liquid metal. Okay. Then metals have high melting and boiling points. Metals have highly density. Then they are sonorous. They produce sound, ringing sound. Okay. So these are the physical properties of metals. Then what are the examples of metals? It is iron, copper, aluminium, zinc, gold, silver, platinum, etc. Then out of 92 naturally occurring elements, 70 elements are metals. So the remaining 22 elements are non-metals. So next is about the non-metals. I told it is just opposite of the characteristics of metals. So they are not malleable, they are not ductile, they are not brittle, they do not conduct electricity, they are non-lustrous and non-shiny in appearance, they are dull in appearance, they are not hard usually, they can be cut easily, can be solid. It can be either solid, liquid or gas at room temperature. Metals usually have low melting point and boiling point, low density, they are not sonorous. So these are the just opposite. If you are studying the properties of metals, we can easily study the properties of non-metal or characteristics of non-metals. Okay, so you want to make a table based upon the differences between physical differences of these metals and non-metals. So metals are malleable, they are ductile, they are good conductors of electricity and heat, they are lustrous, they are shiny in appearance, they are strong in nature, they cannot be cut easily, they are solids except mercury. All other metals are solids. They have high melting and boiling points. Metals have high densities. So they are sonorous. These are the characteristics of metals, and just opposite of this one is non-metals. Okay, so you want to prepare a short note on the notebook about this characteristics of metals and non-metals. You can make a table and write the differences. The examples of non-metals is given: carbon, sulfur, phosphorus, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, etc. So these are the examples of non-metals. Then next one is about metalloids. So metalloids is another classification apart from these metals and non-metals. So these elements whose properties are intermediate between those of metals and non-metals. That means they show both the properties of metals as well as these non-metals. The examples of metalloids are silicon, germanium, arsenic, tellurium, etc. So in this video only this much about this characteristics of metals and non-metals. In the next video we will be talking about the physical properties of metals and non-metals. Okay, so if you have any further doubt, you can ask me or you can ask from the comment section. Thank you.